Hey there everyone. In this video we're going to take a look at user management using the web GUI interface of the Cubro Packetmaster series of network packet brokers. So we're going to bring up our web GUI interface in a web browser window here, and we're going to go to the device drop-down menu and select our first option, which is user management. This area has three main sections, the first of which is going to show us all of the active users on the device. And we can see that by default we have one super user with the username admin, default password Cubro. This is important in that you always need to have at least one super user on the device. Otherwise, you would lock yourself out of the device. You can't delete this even if you wanted to. So if you got this and you decided to try and delete the default super user without first establishing a second super user, you would get this error saying that you cannot delete the last super user. The next section is our access control, which really just boils down to this one checkbox, user authentication. This is basically saying that we want to authenticate with usernames and passwords or not. By default, this is off. So in order to start using username and password authentication, you're going to have to check this box and click Save. Finally, we have our radius settings down here. So if your organization uses radius for authentication, you would put in your server, port, secret, default login behavior, and how often you want the radius session to be cached under these fields and save that. Under radius login, we can see that default behavior is none, read writes only, write writes only, or super writes only. We'll go over writes in just a moment. But let's start adding users to our device. We're going to go to this Add User button up here in the top left-hand corner. Click that, and that's going to bring up this window that's going to allow us to put in a username. Let's add Joe and a description. Basically anything that you want to put in pertaining to that user or that user's account. Joe, I'm going to say he's our network engineer. And the next section is our user level, and this is really just permissions, whether you want that user to have read-only permissions, read-write permissions, or super user permissions. The difference being that the read-only can only view certain aspects of the configuration on the device and can't change anything. Having write access allows a user to add and remove, delete roles, groups, start and stop apps, load save points, set default boot save points, basically everything that would go along with the day-to-day use of the packet broker. Since Joe's our network engineer, I think I'm going to give him write access. And finally, super user, full access to the device, can do anything, can handle all the administrative stuff like adding users, changing the IP configuration, setting up radius, setting up HTTPS. Right level user can't do any of that stuff. Our final option down here is whether we want to authenticate with a local password or authenticate against our radius server, which would require us to set that up first. So let's use local password. And Joe's not too big on the security password policies, so he's going to keep his password short and sweet. Click Save, and we'll add that user to the device. Let's go ahead and add another user here that has read-only access, so you can see what that looks like. And just add Bob here, and Bob is just some guy, which is why he's not allowed to change anything on the packet broker. Save him. Okay. So as you can see here, we have our full list of users that are on our device, their access levels, whether we're authenticating against radius or not, and their description. You have the option to edit these guys at any time, so if Joe suddenly decided he wanted to get serious about his password, we could go in there and change his password. You can also sort these in alphabetical order, if you get quite a few users in there to make it easier to view. All right, let me log out of our admin account and log back in with Joe. And we can see that everything pretty much looks the same. And we can add roles. We can go to our groups and start and stop apps. But let's go under the device menu. So if we go to user management, Joe can only view the users on the device and the information relating to them, but we can't add anything here. Similarly with IP configuration, we can't change any of this stuff. Nor can we go in here and change the device label and notes, HTTPS. Group hash algorithms we still can have because that's important for setting up load balancing groups, but that is about the only thing under the device dropdown that a write user has access to. Now let's log Joe out and take a look at Bob. Okay, Bob doesn't even have the option to pretend he's in charge because he doesn't get access to add rules or add groups or anything like that. Similarly speaking, he can only view the save points and what's in configuration, apps. We can see what's here and we can see what's running, but we can't change anything. And likewise, everything that I showed you with the write level user is also off limits to the read level user. Okay, we'll go back to our admin here. Deleting users, similarly easy, just hit the trash can and take them away. And that should cover everything you need to know about user management through the Web GUI interface of the Packet Broker. Thanks for watching and take care.